Hello and welcome to the Children's Trust of Alachua County podcast, Community Conversations, Real Talk, Real Impact. I am your host, Marsha Kiner, and today I am so excited to kick off the very first episode of our podcast with none other than Commissioner Ken Cornell.
That's me. I'm Ken Cornell. All right, Marsha, let's do this.
Yes. What many of our listeners might not know is that you are also the chair of the Children's Trust of Alachua County.
I am, yeah. So when we stood the trust up, I was the chair. We only had 5 members. And now that there's 10 members, it's kind of circled back around, and they put me in the chair for the year, so I'll be the chair for the remainder of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also the vice chair of the county commission. As you know, we've got a county commissioner who serves on the trust, and so I'm the vice chair of the county commission.
So when I think of public service, I think of Ken Cornell.
Well, that's nice.
Tell us your origin story. How did all of this come about for you?
Yeah, well, you kind of know the origin because you and I were classmates together at Buchholz. So born and raised in Alachua County, met my wife while going to the University of Florida. Went to Atlanta for 5 years and worked for Ernst & Young, had both my boys, Connor and Chris. Connor was born in 93, Chris in 95. Got caught up in traffic and missed the birthday party and said, you know what, I'm never going to do that again. So we relocated back to Alachua County back in 96, and that's where we raised our family. That's where Connor and Chris were really raised up through this community. I had my own CFO consulting company, later got into real estate with my wife, and when my oldest was going off to college, it occurred to me that this community had given us so much that I wanted to put my hat in and maybe try to serve the community as a county commissioner. I was elected in 2014. I was reelected in 2018 and then reelected again in 2022. And I tell people it's the greatest job in the world because where else can you serve the place that you were born and raised, have impact with those that you're able to reach, and give back to a community that has given so much to both my family and to many of us. And you kind of know that story of giving back because you came back, and so so I love what I do, and I love the opportunity to serve the community.
Yeah, that's why I said when I think of a public servant, I think of you, and the fact that, of course, we're both Buchholz Bobcats.
Go Bobcats.
And Gators.
Yeah, go Gators. That's right.
But what the folks also might not know about you is that you are a new grandpa.
I am. Thank you for bringing that up. So my youngest son had my first grandson in October of last year, young Caleb James. He is the apple of my eye. And my oldest son had my second grandson on February 15th. That's John Parker. And I'll tell you, when Caleb was born, we had a complete conversation in 7 seconds. I mean, I held him in my hands, I looked at him, and I said, little dude, I got you for the rest of your life. And he said, I want as much of it as I can get. And that was sealed that this community really values kids. And I like to say I ran for office because I wanted to give back to a community that gave to me, and that's where I raised my kids. And now that I have 2 grandsons, that commitment is greater than ever because I realize the importance of the brain being developed in the first 5 years. And every day I look at my grandsons and figure out how can we keep making those connections. And so I'm living what the trust has really started for, which was to give every kid an opportunity to be everything that they can be. And so that's why I'm here.
Yeah. So when we talk about the brain developing in those first 5 years, and you think back to the origin, right, of the trust. Tell us a little bit about, the discussions that you all had, because bringing a trust to life was no easy feat.
No, I mean, it was a big decision back in 2015. In 2015, when I go back, it was the second year on the commission. And we had a millage that was expiring related to our debt. And at the time, our mills were right around, mill is how we tax the citizens, 9.5. And a half a mil was being used for debt, and the commission spoke and said, you know what? We can just eliminate that, or we can invest that in the community. And so there was a group of citizens that got together. Nancy Hart did some heat maps, and we formed a dependent board at the county commission. That dependent board was then the foundation for them bringing out an independent board to the voters to see if that's what the voters wanted. And so over the next 2 years, they met. We did a lot of research, and we decided to go out to the voters in 2018. And when we went out to the voters, we really were focused in on the brain being developed in the first 5 years of life and how important that was. And so every elected official, I'm so proud of, every city commissioner, every county commissioner, every school board member endorsed the trust. We went out to the voters, 61% of the voters approved it. And so that was the creation of the Children's Trust of Alachua County. And it really showed that the community wanted to invest in our kids, wanted to tax themselves to invest in our kids. And so we were launched in 2018.
So when you think about, Ken, how the trust began and the growth that we've had since 2019, can you share a little bit about, that process? You've been on the board. You were one of our first chairs. You're chairman again. What have you seen has been the biggest difference in that time period?
Well, let me first of all talk a little bit about the structure. So when you decide to go out for a referendum, you have a couple of options under the statute. The county commission chose the one that has 10 members. So those 10 members are made up of 5 statutory members, a county commissioner, a school board member, the superintendent, a judge, and an individual from the Department of Children and Families. That's 5, and that's how we launched with our 5 statutory members. Then in the second year, we have 5 additional members that were appointed by the governor. And so what the county commission did is we sent up candidates that we thought were some of the best and the brightest, and so the governor chooses those 5. And so our board now consists of 5 governor appointees and 5 statutory members. As a county commissioner, I was the chair, and so I helped stand up the trust. But the real magic started to happen when the other members joined the board, because we were able to develop what were the priorities of the board, what was the strategic plan for the board, how were we going to make programs available and funded through the trust, and how was every kid going to have an opportunity to really be everything they could be. And so that's how we stood it up. And to answer your question of how I've seen it grow, when we first started, we just funded everything that we thought we could. But then what happened is, through the strategic plan, we really focused that funding. And so 3 major goals are health, education, and safety. And so how we fund each of those 3 major goals is really a function of what the board prioritizes and how effective those programs are for the kids.
Yeah, so we at the Trust understand that nothing is more important than ensuring that children reach their fullest potential, right? That's basically our mission. Our vision is that all children in the county reach their fullest potential. And so those goals, which are our priorities, really help us focus our funding, our investments. We are blessed to fund over 80 programs here in Alachua County, more than any other Children's Service Council or Children's Trust in the state that is of equal size and proportion, right, to Alachua County. So I think, I'm probably a little biased, that we are doing great work here in the county.
Can I talk about that for a minute?
Certainly.
Yeah, when we were determining, what kind of trust we were going to have, I just kept saying only the best in the state, only the best in the country. We have such intellectual resources in this community that no one else can touch, with the University of Florida, with Santa Fe, with our business community that are vested in kids. And we also know how important the first 5 years of life are. And I don't know if there's a specific question about that, but I want to kind of jump into that, because that's where we communicated to the voters how important the first 5 years of life are. And I talk about this when it comes to the first 5 years in days. There's 1,825 days in the first 5 years of life.
Repeat that for everybody.
1,825 days. And when you think about a child's brain being developed in the first 5 years, we know 88 to 95% of that brain, those connections are being made in those 1,825 days. And so, being an accountant, I look at numbers. And when I think about that, I think of, okay, well, what's 1% of the brain for the child's entire life? That's 18 days, Marsha. What's 10% of the child's brain? That's 182 days. That's 6 months. We don't have days, weeks, and months to waste when a child is born. And so that is the opportunity that we present with the trust of impacting the lives of our kids, which will affect them for their whole life. And that's what the voters understood. It's not a Democratic thing or a Republican thing. It's a nonpartisan thing. We know that every kid that gets put into the juvenile detention system costs the taxpayers $30,000 to $40,000 per year. $30,000 to $40,000. Not to mention the lives that gets wrecked, the families that are impacted. And so if we make that investment on the front end, before they even get to kindergarten, we know that we can change the trajectory of not only that kid's life, not only their family's life, but the entire generation of poverty that we need to address in this community. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this this trust, and why I know that the work we're doing, we will see in the decades that come.
So let's talk about impact, right? We know that just last year, the Trust served over 25,000 children and families here in the community. That was parents, professionals that work with youth serving organizations. When we reflect on the numbers, when we reflect on that impact, why is it so vital here in Alachua County?
Well, I mean, think about those numbers. So you and I went to Buchholz here. There's about 30,000 kids in the public school system. And we are impacting 27 kids and families. I remember when we were growing up, we had the opportunity of your dad being my dean. So he made an impact in my life. We had people around us that supported us. Not everybody has that. Not every child has the same opportunities that I had growing up. My dad was a professor at the university. Your dad was kicking my butt at Buchholz when I was getting out of line. And so having a village help raise a family gives that child the opportunity. And when I think about the fact that there's 30,000 kids in our school system, we have one of the top universities in the country. We have 300,000 people that live in Alachua County, and every kid has an opportunity to be impacted by a program that the Trust provides. We provide more programming than anyone else our size around the state. I feel like these kids that are impacted by the Trust and have an opportunity to have programming by the Trust are going to get that little bump, and if they're 0 to 5, we're making brain connections. But the programming that we do at the Trust is 0 to 18 and their families. We've got after school program, we've got teams work, we've got so many things that are here to support our kids that I don't think any of us really know the impact, because one child can really change a whole community when you look at the impact that they can provide. And so I know that we're impacting lots of kids across the spectrum. And so I know the impact is happening. I'm starting to see folks recognize it, but I think the true impact is going to be realized by the folks that replace us in the next 10 to 20 years. Because the people that replace us are going to be the ones that talk about, when they grew up in Alachua County, and we talk about Buholtz and teenagers and how that impacted our lives. I talk about Joe Cerulli at the Gainesville Health and Fitness Center at the age of 17, how he impacted my life. And so those stories are going to be told in future decades about how the person that took the program, that got a chance to go to Tuscaloosa in the summer, those moments create these different directions that kids take.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think about us being in teenagers, that program at Buholtz, and it really was about teaching us how to be empathetic and do for others, right? Volunteer. Think about someone and something beyond yourself. Those lessons that I learned as a 16-year-old at Buholtz High School stuck with me. And I think about, how I treat people today. So I wholeheartedly agree. I think about our after-school programs. I was just having a conversation with Izzy from Gainesville Circuit Center talking about the fact that the program really impacts the children in who come to their site. The investments that we make are vast. Every day I have someone calling, wanting to have a conversation with me about how can they receive funding from the Children's Trust. And we talk about our funding opportunities, from requests for proposals to sponsorships. I think people often think that the only way that they can receive assistance from the trust is through a formal funding opportunity, a request for proposal. Well, those are important, right? Because those help us to fund many of those 80 programs we were just talking about. They are specifically outlined with a focus on one of our goal areas. But there are other ways that folks benefit from the trust. We are sponsoring programs and programming in the community for organizations who are doing some goodwill out and about in Alachua County. So our sponsorships and then our emergent needs funds. I was really proud of our board when you all agreed that we needed to create a small pot of money that anyone in the community who is serving or providing support to youth could apply for should they have an emergency. I think back to an organization back in December of last year. There was an accident, and this was a relatively new organization that houses young people. The young people were in an accident in their van, and the van was totaled. And the executive director posted on Facebook, "We don't know what we're going to do. We don't have a way to transport our youth." And so we were able to reach out to them and support them with purchasing a new van. When I say we are making a difference, we really are making a difference. And that's just one example.
I mean, it reminds you of the starfish story, right?
Yeah.
The starfish, the story is you save the starfish and the person says, well, you can't save all the starfish, but I can save that starfish. And so that story is a great story of how we make investments based on our strategic plan, but we also have monies that are flexible for things that we don't know about. We also don't know what innovations are going to come out, and so we want to have that flexibility to fund great new ideas that turn into big, great ideas.
Yeah, love it. Let's talk a little bit about how we've been able to create synergy with many of our other leaders here in the community, from the city of Gainesville to also the county commission and the school board. We just finished a needs assessment, a literacy needs assessment, to really have conversation about literacy here in the community. We've partnered with the county and the school board on literacy and gun violence. So talk a little bit about those partnerships and why they are so important.
Well, it kind of builds off of what you just said, which is we're not operating in a vacuum. We recognize that as a trust, we are supporting county commissioners, city commissioners, school board members, library districts. You know, I like to, when I go out and talk to people, the first thing I do is I say, hold up your phone and look at it. You know, what's on your phone? It's your kids. It's your grandkids. So we all have kids and we all have grandkids, or we want them all to succeed. And so 2 years ago, we declared gun violence a local state of emergency, both the city and the county commission. The trust stepped up, recognizing that safety is important in our community, and so helped provide some funding for that. A year ago, we received a report about, we are not moving the dial on our African American kids. We just are not moving the dial, and we've got to make investments early, often, and systematically. And so the county came forward and said, we want to put forward $250,000 to develop a long-term plan for changing literacy in Alachua County. So the trust had a couple of discussions. It fit right into our strategic plan, and this budget cycle decided to invest $550,000 over 3 years into this changing literacy in Alachua County. We know how to do it. We just need the funding and all the partners to work with us. And so we are creating a program that can be duplicated, repeated, and funded long term. The county took their $250,000 and 2 weeks ago allocated $200,000 to peak literacy because we know that works. The school board is doubling down on making sure that UFly is being taught in the classrooms. We know the kids that need the help, and we're trying to provide targeted resources to those kids so that by the time they reach third grade, they know how to read. We know, and everyone's heard the statistics, that prisons are built based on how many kids can't read in third grade, and we want to change that in Alachua County. We don't want our kids not reading at grade level, because we know when they can't read at grade level, other things that aren't good happen. And so, so the county's on board. We are hoping that the city will come on board with some additional funding. The library district has committed to being on board. The Community Foundation is behind us, and the Center for Excellence, which is a new organization that Teresa Beachy is running, is taking the lead to develop the systems and the processes so that we can go back to the community in 2 or 3 years and say, here's what we know works. Here's the data behind it. How important is it to fund? Let's go fund it. And the trust is really at the head of that program, along with the school board, of making sure that our kids can read at grade level.
What's more important than that?
I mean, right? I mean, for those of us that have privilege and understand that that's like a duh, there's a lot of kids that can't. Like I said, the data is real clear. 70% of our African American kids are not reading at grade level. That is not acceptable anymore. And so we're finally doing something about it. And it's important that we not just support the kid, right? That we support the entire family around the kid and the village that helps raise the kid. And so there's a component of literacy that we are going to be helping parents learn how to read at the same time. And I just couldn't be more proud of those efforts. And, the trust, as a county commissioner, you learn how to count to 3, right? because 3 makes policy. There's 5 of us. You know, the trust has 10 members. And so sometimes you got to figure out how to count to 6, you know. But in this case, Marsha, and you know this was unanimous.
It was.
There was no one that said, let's not do this. And that just shows you how important the community is telling us this is.
Yeah. And I think it's also important for you all to know how commendable it is for you to say, right, that we aren't going to leave any children behind.
Not one.
That we want all, when we say all, we really mean all of our children to be able to read. And then we took it a step further and we said, and we want families to be able to read. So kudos to the County Commission, certainly to the Children's Trust Board, and to the school board for saying, we together collectively are going to do this work. And then all of our other partners who stepped up and said, let us know how we can help.
Yeah, and you know, I talk about it was unanimous at the Children's Trust. It was unanimous at the County Commission. It was unanimous at the school board. Like everyone is on board. This is, I feel like this literacy movement that the trust has started with the school board. I feel the same way I felt back in 2018 when I said, hey, I didn't say it, but the community said, let's form a trust. And everybody was on board. And so, yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of, and I am so grateful for all of the partners that are leaning into this effort.
Yeah, me as well. So let's talk about what's next for the Children's Trust. When we look ahead and we look down the road, what are you most excited about for the future of the Children's Trust here in Alachua County?
Yeah, so you talked about we have 80 programs. I mean, that's a lot, you know, and we're now at a place in the trust's life. So the trust is not a perpetual thing. The trust is a 12-year special taxing district. And we know that in the next 3 or 4 years, it's going to be time for us to go back to the community and say, this is what we've done. And I think when I think forward of what's next is a renewal of the special taxing district and actually data behind it to show the impact that we have done in such a short period of time. You know, when you think about a lifetime, a couple of years is just a blink. A decade is also not very long. And so I think we as a trust and our board recognizes that we've got a strategic plan now. We're going to have to show kind of some results of what has happened and go back out to the voters and ask them for their support to continue to support the good work that the trust is doing. And so to me, that's what I'm starting to think about long term. You know, and I talk about a decade's not very long. I mean, unless you're just born. Then the first 5 years, like we talked about, 1,825 days. So our board is amazing. They have the ability to look strategically long term, but also then get right down into the details of, well, what did we do last week? And that's what I love about the folks that I have the opportunity to work with.
Yeah. You are phenomenal as a chair, as a person, as a friend. And I appreciate that you authentically, you just get it. And you are always able to communicate your heart. I believe your heart is the heart of our board.
Well, that's nice.
It is. It's the heart of our board because at the end of the day, what really matters, the children.
Yeah.
Right? The children. The trust is growing by leaps and bounds. I am so honored that I've had the opportunity to join the team, to be a part of the trust journey. And so I want to say thank you to you, thank you to the board for all that you all have allowed me to do in my short tenure here.
Well, I'm just going to say ditto. You know, when we had the opportunity to recruit attract and then hire Marsha Kiner, a lot changed in this community because, you know, your reputation preceded you, and you are from here, and you are vested here, and we are vested here, and everyone that is attached to the trust has their own personal story about how they are vested here, and you nailed it. It's how can each of us do whatever we need to do to impact every single child in Alachua County, no matter where they're from, no matter what they look like, no matter what language they speak. You know, we're here at Fiesta doing this incredible podcast, reaching a community that makes up 15% of Alachua County. We're speaking English. They're listening in English, and they're going to re-say what we say in Spanish. And I just am honored to have this opportunity to reach every one of our citizens who are impacted by the trust.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken. This was our very first podcast.
Oh my gosh. Elio, why haven't we done this more? Yeah, I mean, thank you to Elio. He is an amazing mouthpiece for our community and for the trust. And thanks for inviting me. I wasn't sure what we were doing, but then I walked into this beautiful studio, and I felt like I was in Hollywood. You know, so yeah. If you don't know Elio, you will.
That's right. Well, we certainly couldn't have done this without Fiesta. We do want to highlight a couple of upcoming events for everybody. Save the date for October 23rd. That's our Lights On After School event. It's going to be at the Gainesville Circus Center at 4 p.m. Think free food, performances, and learn a little bit about after-school programs. We also want to tell you to save the dates. You will be hearing more about literacy town halls in late October, around the 29th and 30th. And I think...
I've got one more date.
Yes, one more date.
So we talked about being from here.
Yes.
My birthday is November 1st.
Oh.
I'm going to be 57.
Oh.
But that's not important. What's really important is November 1st.
Yes.
To Fiesta Festival.
Yes.
Out at the Event Center in Alachua County. The Children's Trust will be there.
We will.
Along with many community partners will be there to celebrate that day and to celebrate this community.
Yes. So... we are, I think, at the end of our podcast. So let me say some thank yous. Certainly, Ken, thank you for sharing your time,
thank you.
Your heart with us today. I have to say thank you to all of our parents, our providers, and our community partners for your part that you play in helping the Children's Trust be as successful as we have been. Here's what I think. I think if we are successful at all in making a difference in the lives of children, then it takes all of us. That African proverb about it takes a village, right? It takes a village. You are a part of our village, and we say thank you. Until the next time, if you need us, call us 352-374-1830. You can find us on the web at Children's Trust of Alachua County.us. Everybody, have a great day.
Have a great day.